Another world, another time, in an age of wonder. In 1975, legendary puppeteer Jim Henson, creator of the beloved Muppets and Sesame Street, began work on a kind of film that no one had ever seen before. Set in a world populated entirely by strange alien creatures, this fantasy adventure was intended to get back to the darkness of the original Grimm's fairy tales. Along with puppeteer and co-director Frank Oz and conceptual designer Brian Froud, he would go on to make The Dark Crystal, a groundbreaking film steeped in mystery, beauty, uncanny terror, and above all, wonder. The story takes place on a planet named Thra, which underwent a terrible catastrophic change when the enchanted crystal, also known as the Dark Crystal, was cracked. Two races emerged from the crystal, the cruel leaders, the Skeksis, and the gentle mystics, the Uru. For 1,000 years, the planet was poisoned by the Skeksis influence, as they hungrily drew the power of immortality from the crystal, wreaked havoc upon the land, and wiped out anything that dared threaten their rule. The mystics and the peaceful race of gelflings retreated away from the crystal and lived in hiding until only two gelflings were left, the male Jen and the female Kira. With help from the powerful seer Aughra, Jen and Kira set out on their quest to heal the shattered crystal and bring balance to the land of Thra. This film has a tone and identity entirely its own, being the only film, to my knowledge, to feature a cast of entirely puppet performers. The creativity behind the puppetry is truly groundbreaking. An intense amount of work went into creating the planet Thra, because, just like Pandora, the creators of the film envisioned a whole new ecosystem, complete with moving plants, exotic insects, and strange new races. While the uncanny valley of the limited facial expressions does work against the film sometimes, overall it is a truly outstanding piece of cinema, with the hero's journey fleshed out with simple but nuanced thematic resonance. So in preparation for the upcoming Netflix series Age of Resistance, join me as we examine the history, mystery, and key themes of the original movie to prepare for a prequel that took almost 40 years in the making. One of the major themes within the story is duality. In the opening, we see two different races, the Skeksis and the Mystics, each involved in their own private rituals. The way the scenes are shot and edited, and the use of similar dialogue and phrases.
Today, the ceremony of the sun gives no comfort, but today, the ritual gives no comfort.
Indicates a link between the two races, even though they seem completely different physically and psychologically. Throughout the film, we see this continual link explored. When the Skeksis is injured, we see its opposing mystic feel the same pain, indicating that they are the two distinct halves of the one whole. This theme can be linked to the dark side and light side of the Force in the Star Wars universe, especially when considering Frank Oz's ties with Star Wars through Yoda, but also incorporates the Eastern philosophy of yin-yang. Originating in China, this philosophy is based on the principle that all things exist as inseparable and contradictory. The two opposites, yin, dark, and yang, light, attract and complement each other, and a correct balance between these two opposing states must be reached to achieve harmony. Even though the link appears superficial in the opening of the movie, with Skeksis equals evil, Mystics equals good, their duality is strengthened through the idea of balance. Thra is in ruins because of the imbalance of power. The Skeksis control the entire world, while the Mystics live in secrecy. Both races are dying. The Skeksis are ancient and wizened creatures, prolonging their life through artificial means. The Mystics live a more serene life. But even though the characters are portrayed as good and righteous, they are suffering just as much. The opening describes how they are
a dying race, numbly rehearsing the ancient ways in a blur of forgetfulness.
Even though they've existed for 1,000 years since the Great Conjunction, neither race can survive on its own. It's only in the Third Great Conjunction, where the two entities are combined into one being, with good balancing evil, light balancing dark, that the Urskeks can finally transcend their physical forms, purify themselves, and leave Thra for a higher plane of existence. This theme of duality continues through the metaphorical conjunction of the characters Jen and Kira. These two creatures are Gelflings, a race almost completely wiped out by the Skeksis when they learned of a threatening prophecy that the crystal would be healed and their rule usurped by a Gelfling. The full prophecy reads,
"When single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by Gelfling hand or else by none."
This prophecy does foreshadow Jen's role as the Chosen One in his quest to heal the crystal, but it is arguable that he is only the Chosen One when united with Kira. Although their connection can be interpreted as romance, the two of them form an unbreakable bond through their dream fasting, where they share thoughts and memories. This indicates that a connection exists only between the two of them, as they have been searching for each other as long as they can remember.
I learned from them all, except there's no one here like me. I need to find
And yes,
one other.
I love them all. Except I need to find...
Wait,
It's
going
away.
Death cannot even separate them, as the Urskeks revive Kira at the end of the film, saying,
She is part of you, as we all are part of each other.
Kira and Jen are only complete when they are together. They both possess skills that the other needs to use on their quest. Jen represents knowledge and learning. He uses the teachings of the mystics to find the crystal shard at the home of Aughra, and he is the one who reads the prophecy in the Gelfling ruins. Kira represents peace and wisdom. She is in tune with the natural world through her life with the podlings. She can speak to the animals and plants, and she helps Jen reach the crystal castle through the Landstriders and her wings. These two characters shift places throughout the story, each representing a different skill or piece of knowledge, whether it's Kira's caution, Jen's determination, Kira's strength, or Jen's courage. It's only when the two beings join together to form the one whole that they are able to find and heal the dark crystal. The Skeksis and the Mystics are clearly delineated into two different ways of living, natural and artificial. The Skeksis try to cheat nature and the onset of death. As their bodies age and weaken, the three suns and the elixir of life they forcibly drain from the podlings and the Gelflings both work to keep them alive. Therefore, their bodies are harsh and twisted, and they cover themselves in rich clothing and jewelry to hide their broken forms. Their misuse of power is indicated visually in the banquet scene. The immediate juxtaposition of the natural world with the man-made banquet is striking, but it's their outright vacuous consumption, with that uncomfortable sense of the Skeksis sloppily gorging themselves, that indicates the imbalance and the misuse of power. The juxtaposition with the mystics indicates the different ways the species interact with the world around them. The mystics seem at one with the natural world, the same as the podlings, rehearsing the ancient ways and showing Jen the bounty of the valley that they inhabit. The Skeksis rebel against death, but the mystics accept it. The wise mystic dies peacefully in his sleep, and is given funeral rites by the remaining 9. Their oneness with the natural world is indicated when the mystic tells Jen how he will meet him again in another life.
We may meet in another life, but not again in this one.
And also in my favourite line from the whole movie.
Where is he? Around here?
He's dead.
Could be anywhere then.
The comparison of death of the mystic and the Skeksis emperor is strikingly different. His death is painful and violent, with the body physically crumbling under the strain of his existence. His loss is not mourned or celebrated. Immediately the remaining Skeksis fight over who will take control, and we don't even know what happened to the body. Their pain-filled lives and twisted forms indicate that they are not even organic creatures anymore, but artificial creatures manipulating nature to keep themselves alive. When Jen heals the crystal, the outer casing of the Skeksis castle falls away, revealing crystalline light underneath, which can be interpreted as a form of regeneration. This final conjunction is what rids Thra of the Skeksis, indicating the power of the natural over everything else in this world. When Jen is named the Chosen One by his master, he reluctantly accepts his title and fulfills the prophecy, according to his foreseen destiny.
I'm not ready to go alone. All right? Alone then.
However, the Skeksis attempt to manipulate destiny and choose their own ending, but it is through their actions that they actually cause their own destruction. We can read their response to the prophecy through the idea of fatalism, where events are pre-scripted and no decisions made can alter them. Fatalism is seen in the Great Conjunction. Whatever the outcome of the three suns joining, it is always going to happen. Aughra is happy not to try to alter the events of the Great Conjunction. She knows the changes are inevitable and is happy to leave them to fate.
The Great Conjunction is the end of the world! Or the beginning? End, begin, all the same. Big change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
The Skeksis, however, know they are in danger around the time of the Great Conjunction and attempt to outwit the prophecy. They believed too heavily in this prediction when it was made, and it led them to attempt to wipe out the Gelfling race and destroy any chance that it could be fulfilled. However, we can say this attempted genocide set in motion Jen's journey to heal the crystal and defeat the Skeksis. After all, they believed so strongly in their own destruction and directly tried to act against it, but in the end, it sealed their fates. Instead of trying to create their own destiny, like Jen using his knowledge to seek the crystal shard, the Skeksis tried to defy destiny, and it ended up killing them. So join me as we examine the expanded universe of the Dark Crystal and show you everything you need to know about Thra before the crystal cracked. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe for part 2, and I shall see you across time and space in the next video.